Hello and welcome to another edition of our NAWBO member features. We are on the Texas Women Mean Business podcast. We are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And we are joined today by Laney Cloud, CEO of The Village. Welcome, Laney.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're super pumped to learn more about your business because it is in the throes of coming to fruition, and I just cannot wait for San Antonio women to get to experience this. So tell us, what is The Village?
Yeah, absolutely. The Village is a response, in my opinion, to a pretty profound need in our world today. We live in this era of unprecedented digital connection, right? But such a paradox of increased disconnection and depression and anxiety and this feeling of just loneliness are really on the rise. And I think as women, we spend billions of dollars, right, on wellness and beauty and, seeking to feel good. And, I think we're just missing a really simple ingredient, which is just authentic human community, right? And so the Village is a members only social club for women where self-care and beauty and community naturally come together to inspire confidence, connection, and well-being. So there we integrate spa services and beauty treatments and healing amenities, elevated food and drink, member events, fitness, and childcare in a series of, really purposefully designed spaces to really aim to create this space where women can come and, belong and thrive.
Yeah. It's funny because I've had conversations with fellow working moms sometimes where I've said, like, why isn't there a place where I can go and get like hair, nails, like all the things done at once? And then you've gone a step further and added like childcare and co-working and like even above and beyond my wildest dreams. So how did
Totally.
this idea come about? How did you really kind of decide, like, yes, this is what I want to pursue?
Yeah, they say that most businesses, right, are like built out of your own pain, right? And as a working mom, I also feel the same way. So that's very true here. So, I can speak to almost this like lack of community, right? Like firsthand. I've spent my career growing and building tech startups from coast to coast, and I've spent most of that time on airplanes or in hotel rooms or like sprinting through airport terminals on my laptop, like frantically typing in an Uber and even
Yeah.
like, sitting on a Starbucks bathroom, like pumping, like you name it.
Yeah.
And I've done it. We've all been there, right? And that like crazy tech lifestyle that's in the movies and the shows and stuff that was 100% me.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is like in all of that, I was making time. I thought I was making time for like self-care. I would always find time to squeeze in a mani-pedi. I would always find time to like squeeze in a massage, even if it was like a weird airport massage, and it was good. It was like, I'm glad that I was doing those things.
I've been watching people fly by with their suitcases. So relaxing.
So relaxing.
So relaxing. Yeah.
And like I was trying to carve out an hour here and there, but there was still just this like hole that was not being filled. And I realized that it was just quite simply, community. And, I think for me, I want to just be clear on like how I define the word community, because I think there's an important distinction to make. Like for most of us, right, we have these core best friends and these relationships that have been with us for most of our lives, and they're part of our core identity. It's your childhood best friend or your college roommates, right? And for some of us, we're lucky to live right next to those people and like do life with them. But for a lot of us, I'd venture to say probably even most of us, we don't get to see these people as much as we'd like, right? Maybe it's a vacation or a girls' trip here and there. And those friendships are so special. But, when I think about the Village, and I hope we, spark some lifelong best friendships, right? But when I say community, I'm more talking about that like ritualistic hum of support that's there day in and day out, right? That to me, I think is actually like harder to find.
Yes.
And, someone on like a random Tuesday can drop off your daughter's sweater because she forgot it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously speaking from experience on that one too, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, someone who drops off dinner because you just had surgery, or who will make a really key introduction for you to, land your next job or land your next client, or, someone who will just come hold your baby because you're a new mom and you just need a shower, right? So those like day-to-day little moments, I think, that remind you that you matter and we see you,
Right.
and you have a village, right? And that's kind of that's, I think, the harder community to find, and what I'm hoping to build a space that will create.
Right. Yeah. I think it's also, the fact that you are gearing this towards women who, there's spas, there's co-working spaces, and sometimes the women who are all about that lifestyle or that lifestyle don't have a ton of crossover, but you're building this blend of like, you can be extremely ambitious and have like big goals and scaling a big company and doing, wonderful things. And you also need to have a slower pace of life sometimes, and you also need to have moments to build in that me time, as you were saying. So I love that you're creating this spot for those type of women to find each other, not just one or the other.
Totally. And I think, as women, right, like we wear 18 hats a day, and like they're all a part of our identity. And a lot of the time, when you show up to a specific place, you have to put on that hat, right? Like, this is my work where I'm a boss, and this is my home where I'm a mom, or this, you have to like match the energy. And it's hard, and it's like exhausting to do. At the end of the day, like they're all me, right? So to create, a space where like whatever hat you might have on that day, just show up and it's going to be totally fine, right? Like, this is a place where if you want to show up and have, close a deal over lunch, or you want to show up with your girlfriends and talk about like bad reality TV and like drink a martini or two, both of those things are totally acceptable.
Yeah. Well, and how many times have we heard women who are extremely talented say, I have to put this dream to the side right now because I can't do all the things. I can't make all of this work. Like, how many times has childcare gotten in the way of women being able to build something?
100%.
And the fact that you're giving them a space where they can come and say, okay, I've got that secured. I know I've got my baby like right there. I can go, hang out with her when I need to, or him, but I can also keep pursuing that thing. I don't have to choose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So walk me through, you mentioned you've been, building tech startups, coast to coast. What brought you to San Antonio? Are you born and raised here? How did you kind of find your way back here? If you've gone out and had your adventures and come back home, or is this kind of a new market for you?
Yeah, no, born and raised in San Antonio. Grew up in the Stone Oak area. I went to Texas A&M for school, and then right when I graduated, I moved out to Seattle. And obviously that's a big tech hub, right? So did a stint in Seattle. Absolutely loved the Pacific Northwest. This is kind of a random side story, but I'll tell it just because. So I was living in Seattle. I absolutely loved it. I was there for 5 years, and maybe once a month, my Mimi, my grandma, who lives in San Antonio, would call me and say, Laney, I've met your husband. And I would say, Mimi, I'm okay. Thank you. I'm doing my thing, for 5 years. And so finally I came home for the holidays one year. He, of course, just happened to be at our family Christmas. And now
I'm sure Mimi had nothing to do with that.
Of course not. And now we are married. We have 3 babies. We live down the street from my parents in San Antonio. So
oh my gosh.
The grand plan worked to get me back. So
well, I'm proud that she meant the same man for 5 years. Like, she wasn't like rotating, like, no, this could be the one, this could be the one. It was like,
no, she was convinced that she knew he was the one, and she was right. So we actually got married on her birthday a couple of years later. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. We were just in Seattle this summer, and we were talking to some friends who live there, and they kind of offhandedly mentioned, a lot of companies still see Seattle as kind of a small up and coming town. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, if Seattle's small and up and coming, what is San Antonio? Like, what are we doing? So walk me through, what kind of things did you pick up, living in a market like Seattle? What do you feel like you're bringing back to San Antonio that's made you a stronger or better leader?
Yeah, I think, in the tech world, whether it was in Seattle or my most recent company was based in New York, there's this scrappiness that I think, is probably inherent in a lot of us. But when you're put in this position where you're one of 7 people on a team that is, creating this entire company,
Mhm.
you have to wear all of the hats, and that's not unlike all, women business owners, right?
Right.
But getting to learn that experience at such a young age and getting exposure to that, I was 20 when I moved to Seattle. I graduated early, and so um, I got to, take on a bigger role than probably someone of my age and like credibility should have been able to take on.
Yeah.
But it was like it helped expedite my career, really, right? Just like someone giving me a chance to completely fail and it being okay to fail.
Mm.
In the startup world, especially in the tech startup world, right? Like things don't work all of the time. Things fail all of the time. Companies fail all of the time.
Yeah.
And you just kind of get used to like, that's okay. You just pick up and pivot and move on. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of scrappiness has been really helpful when thinking about starting the village. Like I pivot easily and I'm not scared of failure, I guess.
Yeah. I heard, quote or a story from Sarah Blakely one time that her dad would say in the dinner table, like conversation, okay,
Yeah,
everybody go around the table. How did you fail today? And just
totally.
normalize that like failure. So advice would you have for somebody who is kind of in your same space of like starting and breaking the mold on something really, new, and they are kind of feeling that pressure of like, it has to be perfect before I launch it. It has to be, all my ducks are in a row before I even press go.
Totally. Yeah. I think, my advice also comes from Sarah Blakely, where, she, in starting this, right, you come from tech for so long, and now I'm building a like brick and mortar members club, like
Yeah.
day to day. It's like complete, it couldn't be more opposite what I'm doing. And so let me be super clear. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, but, I think Sarah Blakely also says the best way to disrupt an industry is to not know anything about it. And
Mm.
so I think when I first started and kind of made this jump to start the village, I was so nervous about like, I don't know how to start a spa. I don't know how to, you know, build out a commercial kitchen. Like, I don't know any of these things. And so I was like frantically trying to find the answers and look for people who did know how to do it. And um, I think in that experience, I realized like, actually, if I just go to the people who have done it the same way for, decades, then we're just going to create something that's already been done. Right. So
Yeah.
I think being okay with not knowing the answers, because it actually
Mhm.
might be your biggest strength.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I feel like too, sometimes there is that limit of pulling in too many opinions and voices because you can
totally.
start to really get lost in like, I, I've got one person saying you have to go down this path. I've got another saying I have to go. And it almost slows things down to the point where it might not be the right path, but I need to find that out quicker than sitting here and just debating. What do we do?
Totally. Yeah. It goes back to the failing thing, right? Like if you like just fail fast, like it's totally
Mhm.
okay to fail, or like, and I don't even know that I like love that word, but it's
Yeah.
okay to pivot, right? And that's good to know that earlier on so that you are that much closer to finding, the right path.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of, having like your, crew to lean on and, resources and things like that, how did you come across NAWBO? How was that something that got on your radar?
Yeah. So I think I was trying to think about this. I think I just saw a LinkedIn posting right when I started the village. So it was like this
Hmm.
serendipity moment
Yeah.
because I was like, well, perfect. I own a business now. I'm
Yeah.
a woman. Let's check this out.
Yeah.
And from the first meeting, I could just tell that it was a really good fit. The room is, in my opinion, just full of women who just have this like get it done energy, and
Hmm.
a room full of leaders, and a room, where I feel like I could not only be challenged, but also meet like some really good friends as well.
Yeah.
And, since then I've met awesome friends.
Mhm.
They've helped me build my network and introduce me to other people, even like outside of NAWBO. I even threw this kind of little milestone party for the village and looked out, and some of my NAWBO sisters were in attendance, kind of building me up and supporting me. And I haven't been a member for too long. And so to be able to get that quick connection and quick support um,
Mhm.
was really, really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think you've done a great job too of like being, because sometimes we'll hear feedback that, well, my friend invited me and I became a member because she really loved being a member. But then it almost kind of ties you to that person of like, I'm going to go
Totally.
to the events that you recommend and I'm going to go. But you kind of jumped in really like from a fresh perspective of like, I'm just going to like start saying hello and, going in and making some waves. So how
Totally.
did you, what advice would you give to somebody who feels like that is way too intimidating? If I don't know somebody, I'm not like just walking into a room, blind.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it can be a little bit intimidating, right? To networking and being in a room full of people that you don't know. I think if you think about like the worst case scenario, right, is you can show up at this event, show up at this meeting, show up at this luncheon or whatever it is, and you cannot talk to anybody, and nobody would probably even notice that, and then you can eat your lunch and go home, right? So like your like barrier to entry is very minimal, and
Yeah.
if that is all that feels comfortable for you, there's no pressure to like go shake the hand of every single woman in the building, like that's very overwhelming, and some people just aren't comfortable with that, and that's not their strengths. And so you will still benefit if you go sit at a table, literally don't talk to one other person and
Mhm.
just listen. You will still get the benefits of it, and that's totally fine. Like no one's going to be pressuring you and be like, who's that weirdo sitting in the corner not talking to anybody? And then
Mhm.
I think as you start to flex that muscle a little bit, like, oh, okay, maybe I'll talk to the person sitting next to me, like just baby steps. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that's good advice or not, but I think, just being in the room and absorbing the energy and the content is value enough.
Yeah. I think there's also, some merit to that happy medium of like nobody even really enjoys interacting with the person who is like speed going around the room and like,
Totally.
how are you? Here's my card. Hi, how are you? Here's my card. Like that feels so disingenuous.
Yeah.
But, if you're not wanting to be the person in the corner, but you also don't want to be that person, I love being able to like have two or three really good conversations. And I feel
100%.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I actually really know how Christine's doing right now. And I really got a chance to like check in with her and see like,
Yep.
hey, we saw you made that big announcement. What's going on? And, I'm thinking of Christine that like, literally that's the conversation we had at our monthly meeting this past week. So, those type of moments, I feel like, give you some moments of like, okay, I feel like I've really connected and I've had that like fill my cup kind of moment. But
Totally.
there's really no opportunity to find out how can I help you? How can you help me? If it's just to like, I just need you to like take my business card and go.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, like everyone would try to like avoid that person.
Yeah.
Don't be
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah. Please don't. We're good. Well, what else in terms of NAWBO or what, in terms of that community aspect with women, what do you feel like is something that people have a misconception or that you wish more people knew?
I think for women business owners in particular, and we talked a little bit about this, like all of the hats that we wear, right? But a lot of the time as a business owner, you're wearing the boss hat, right? And that can flood into all areas of your life. And where you feel like you always have to be on, you can't let your guard down. And I think most of us just kind of naturally have these characteristics anyway. It's just kind of a part of our personality. But I think it's so important that we have to disarm at times, right? And we have to like take the boss hat off and just go be silly and go have fun. It just is like so important for your spirit. And so, again, when I think about creating a space like the village, to be able to have a safe place, because I think in order to do that you have to feel safe, right? In order to like be vulnerable and be silly, you have to feel safe. And so I want to be really intentional about the community that we build, that you can go out in the world and be an absolute boss, but I want you to be able to come in here, like have a drink, sing karaoke, dance on a table, or just laugh with a girlfriend about, whatever funny story happened, and kind of just start to deconstruct that a little bit. Cause I think it's just really important for our spirits as business owners who are kind of serious and like very focused 99.9% of the time to just kind of be silly at times.
Yeah. I think that's one of the beautiful parts about like women leaders is we do a lot of times bring our whole selves to a conversation, and it's difficult for us to separate. Like if I'm going to commit to something, it means I'm going to have to give up something with my kids, and so I might bring up my kids at a conversation in the meeting or whatever it is. But I don't think we should have to compartmentalize ourselves and force ourselves to kind of like shut that piece down while we're over here doing important work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if people are curious about the village, I mean, I can't imagine that they're not curious after hearing like how fabulous it's going to be. How do they find out more? What's the stage? Where are we at? Like how soon can we step through the doors and be, invited into this glorious space?
Yes, I wish it was tomorrow, honestly. But again, I'm building this for myself. So like every day we get closer, I'm like, God, I can't wait. Yeah. So we are making really good progress. We have officially found a space. We will be sharing where that is very soon. So definitely be on the lookout. For any, updates or kind of continuing to follow our journey, you can check us out on Instagram and our website at ourvillage.com. And we'll continue to be putting, more content out there about our journey and next steps. But our hope is to launch around this time, kind of officially open the doors this time next year. And then over the course of this year, we'll be doing a lot of pop-ups and different type of community events so that people can get to know us as well. Yeah. So definitely stay tuned, but hopefully this year goes by very fast.
I know. Yeah, no, I can only imagine. So I think it's great that you have joined NAWBO, because we have a lot of women who have been in business 20 years. We have women who are just ideating and, figuring out if they want to leave the corporate life and they want to start their own thing, how can I get myself set up for success? So I love that you are going to have access to all the NAWBO resources as you're in this building phase. And like, hopefully I would, think that will help get you in a place that is so much further ahead than most women starting on day one. So I applaud you for being, willing to invest in something like NAWBO even before the doors are open.
I honestly don't applaud me. I'm so grateful for it. I don't know what I would do without it. Right. Like it's, I'm teaching myself things in real time. And, I think for a lot of business owners that are ideating right now, there's never this like perfect moment where you're like, now I know everything there is to know about business. Like, now I can start. It's just like every day is an adventure of just teaching myself, literally Googling acronyms in real time on meetings, like this, it's just a part of the journey. So I think, any advice would be, there's never going to be a perfect time. You're never going to know all of the answers, but to be able to take that jump and have all of the resources and content and workshops and connections that NAWBO provides is just super valuable. I feel like, I kind of like have this solid foundation that at least I can pull from if I don't know something. Right.
Yeah. It's kind of, a lot of times I like to think of it as like my, personal board of directors without having to like, pay for a board of directors or like, give them equity or anything like that. Like I'm able to like tap people and say, can you just give me, advice or help me in this department? Or, I need this type of insurance. I need this type of financial planning, like any of those pieces where it's just so easy to tap on a NAWBO sister versus like, let me just Google and sift through and figure out who to go with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. So if folks want to learn more about you, tell us socials, website, all the good things, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on Instagram. You can check us out on our website, ourvillage.com. You can sign up there on our listserv. We can send updates as we, go through this journey over the next year and beyond. We are also, we'll slowly start to think about finding some founding members. So we want to launch the space with 150 founding members that are, I think super aligned with our core values and the type of community that we want to create. So those of you who might, be envisioning yourselves as a part of this community and, picturing yourself sitting in the pool or, hanging out playing mahjong or, in a fitness class, we want you here as well, right? So, this group will be the foundation of the culture here. And so we're going to be really thoughtful and very intentional about who this group is, because they'll help us kind of live out these values, right? But you can also reach out via my email, which is laney@ourvillage.com, or just on our website. You can, show that you have interest in learning a bit more about founding membership. And I'd be happy to share a bit more about that process.
Yeah. I've been part of many membership clubs and, programs and things like that over the years. And I think there's always been a piece missing, and what you've created is solving for that. So I'm super excited to see it come to fruition. All right. Well, if you are tuning in and you want to learn more about Laney, you just heard how to get in touch with her. We would also love to see you at one of our NAWBO events coming up soon. So if you are watching, you can scan that QR code up above and check out our upcoming events. Or if you are tuning in via our podcast, go to NAWBOSA.org, and all of our information is there as well. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Laney, for spending some time with us today, and we are so appreciative.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Have a great day, y'all.
Thanks, y'all.